Commander Velthar watched the sky burn red. His forearms gripped the command console as another explosion lit up the colony below. The Devourers were coming. They always came. "All defense batteries are down," his second officer reported. The fear in her voice was clear. "We have maybe 2 hours before they reach the civilian shelters." Velthar's mandibles clicked in frustration. 300 years. For 300 years, the Ascendant Coalition had fought these monsters, and for 300 years, they had been losing. World after world fell to the Devourers. They consumed everything: buildings, ships, people. Nothing remained when they passed through a system. "Send the distress signal again," Velthar ordered. "Any ship, anyone who can hear us." He did not expect an answer. The Coalition fleet was weeks away. The colony world of Terrace 7 would be dead long before help arrived. Velthar had already accepted this. His duty now was to save as many civilians as possible. But with only 2 transport ships and 15,000 people waiting below, the mathematics were cruel. The communication officer suddenly straightened. "Commander, we have a response to our signal." "Coalition forces?" Velthar felt a spark of hope. "No, sir. Unknown vessels. They identify themselves as human. They say they are coming to help." Velthar had never heard of humans. His database search returned almost nothing. A young species, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. They used primitive kinetic weapons alongside basic energy arms. Why would such a species answer a military distress call? "How many ships?" Velthar asked. 7 vessels, Commander. Small cruiser class. 7 ships. Velthar's hope died. 7 small ships meant perhaps 300 soldiers, against tens of thousands of Devourers. These humans were fools. They would die here for nothing, but he needed every transport he could get. "Allow them to approach," Velthar said. "Direct them to landing zone 3. 20 minutes later, the human ships descended through the burning sky. Velthar went to meet them personally. He owed them that much, even if they had made a fatal mistake coming here. The lead ship's door opened. A human male stepped out. He was smaller than Velthar, with only 2 arms and 2 legs. His skin was tan, his hair dark. He wore armor that looked functional but simple, nothing like the advanced combat suits Coalition soldiers used. "I am Captain Taiwan of the Human Expeditionary Fleet," the human said. His translator device worked perfectly. "We received your distress call. We are here to help with evacuation." "I am Commander Velthar. I must be honest with you, Captain Taiwan. The enemy will be here in less than 2 hours. Even with your ships, we cannot evacuate everyone. And the Devourers will attack during the evacuation. Many of us will die." Velthar expected the human to reconsider, to make excuses and leave. Instead, Taiwan smiled. "Then we better get started," the human said. "We do not leave people behind. That is not our way." Behind Taiwan, more humans emerged from the ships. Velthar counted nearly 400 soldiers. One of them, a female with kind eyes, approached him. She carried medical equipment. "I am Hai Wan," she said. "Combat medic. Can you show me where your wounded are? I can help while we load the transports." Velthar was stunned. This human wanted to treat Coalition wounded? They were not even the same species. They had met only minutes ago. "The medical bay is in the south shelter," Velthar said carefully. "But it is dangerous. The Devourers could arrive early. You might not make it back to your ship." Haywan adjusted her medical pack. "I will make it back when everyone who needs help has been treated. Not before." For the next hour, the evacuation proceeded faster than Velthar had thought possible. The humans worked with remarkable efficiency. They carried children, supported the elderly, organized the civilians into orderly groups. They did not complain. They did not hesitate. Taiwan worked alongside Coalition soldiers, lifting heavy equipment. His soldiers moved quickly but carefully. Velthar noticed something else. The humans sang while they worked. Short songs, rhythmic and encouraging. The coalition civilians, terrified moments before, began to calm down. Then the alarm screamed. "Devourers spotted!" the sensor officer shouted. 6 kilometers out and closing fast! Velthar's blood went cold. They still had 4,000 civilians waiting to board. The transports needed at least 30 more minutes. "All military personnel, form defensive positions," Velthar ordered. He turned to Taiwan. "Captain, get your people to your ships. Leave now. You can save yourselves." Taiwan shook his head. "Respectfully, Commander, no. We do not run while others are in danger." "You will die." "Maybe, but not alone. And not without a fight." Taiwan activated his communication device. "All human forces, combat positions, standard defense formation. Protect the civilians and the transports. No one gets left behind." The human soldiers moved with practiced precision. They took positions around the landing zone, their weapons ready. Velthar had studied their technology. Those weapons were outdated, simple projectile firearms and basic energy rifles. Against the Devourers' regenerating bodies and swarm tactics, such weapons seemed almost useless. The Devourers came like a black wave across the colony, thousands of them. Insect-like creatures with too many legs and mouths that never stopped eating. They tore through buildings. They absorbed metal and flesh equally. Nothing stopped them. Nothing except humans. The first Devourer reached the human defensive line. The humans opened fire. The sound was deafening. Bullets and energy bolts filled the air. And the Devourers hesitated. Velthar saw it clearly. The creatures that never showed fear, that consumed everything in their path, were being cautious. They circled the human positions instead of charging directly through them. "Focus fire on the big ones!" Taiwan shouted. "Cover your battle partners!" The humans fought alongside coalition soldiers. When a coalition soldier's weapon overheated, a human covered him. When a human's position was flanked, coalition soldiers provided support. They moved like they had trained together for years, not minutes. Haywan appeared from the medical shelter, carrying a wounded coalition soldier on her back. She was half his size, but she ran through the combat zone without dropping him. Energy bolts passed within inches of her head. She did not stop. "Medic down!" someone shouted. Velthar turned. A coalition medic had been hit. Before he fell, 2 human soldiers reached him. They dragged him to cover while still firing at the enemy. Haywan reached them seconds later, already opening her medical kit. The battle lasted 43 minutes, 43 minutes of continuous combat. The Devourers attacked in waves, but the defensive line held. Barely. Velthar lost count of how many close calls there were. Finally, the last transport lifted off. All 15,000 civilians were safe. All the wounded had been evacuated. "Fall back to the ships," Taiwan ordered. "Fighting retreat." "No one stays behind!" The humans and coalition forces withdrew in organized groups. They covered each other. When one group moved, another provided covering fire. It was beautiful and terrible to watch. The last soldier to board was Haywan. She had stayed until every single wounded person was on a ship. Taiwan personally pulled her aboard as the Devourers closed in. As the ships lifted off, Velthar stood in the cargo bay, surrounded by the people they had saved. He looked at the humans. They were exhausted. Several were wounded. Their armor was scorched and dented, but they were smiling. "Why?" Velthar asked Taiwan. "Why did you risk everything for strangers?" Taiwan looked surprised by the question. "Because you called for help. Because people needed saving." "Is there supposed to be another reason?" Velthar realized something in that moment. Something that would change everything. The coalition had been fighting the Devourers with logic, with mathematics, with cold, tactical efficiency. They calculated acceptable losses. They retreated when the numbers said they could not win. But humans did not fight with mathematics. They fought with something else. Something Velthar did not have a word for. "Captain Tae-wan," Velthar said formally, "would you and your forces consider joining the coalition military effort? We need soldiers like you." Tae-wan extended his hand. Velthar had learned this was a human gesture of agreement. "We would be honored," Tae-wan said. "Let us show these devourers what happens when humanity stands with friends." Velthar gripped the human's hand with two of his own. For the first time in 300 years, he felt something he had almost forgotten. He felt hope. Strategist Krell existed as pure thought within his crystalline matrix. Numbers and patterns flowed through his consciousness like water. For 600 years, he had planned battles for the Ascendant Coalition. He understood war through mathematics. Every battle was a series of probabilities. Every victory or defeat could be calculated. Until the humans arrived. 3 months. For 3 months, Krell had watched human forces fight alongside coalition soldiers. And for 3 months, the humans had been breaking every rule of warfare he knew. Krell floated in his command chamber, analyzing data from the latest engagement, the Battle of Sigma Station. According to his calculations, coalition forces had a 12% chance of victory. The logical decision was tactical retreat, preserve forces for a better engagement. Colonel Jin Woo had refused to retreat. The human officer had rallied his mixed force of humans and coalition soldiers. They had won with 68% casualties. This should not have been possible. Krell opened a communication channel to his assistant. "Bring me all combat records of human engagements. I need to understand their pattern." For the next 3 days, Krell studied the data. Every battle the humans fought defied logic. They took positions they should abandon. They held lines that mathematics said would break. They won fights that probability declared impossible. But it was not random. There was a pattern. Krell just could not see it yet. The answer came during a strategy meeting. Krell was presenting his analysis of the next Devourer advance. His projections showed 14 worlds would fall within 2 months. The coalition fleet would need to retreat and consolidate. "What if we do not retreat?" asked Lieutenant Bo-Ra, a young human tactical officer. "The probability of successful defense is less than 3%, Krell explained patiently. "Retreat is the logical choice." "But what if we change the battlefield?" Bo-Ra continued. She pulled up a star map. "Here, Helios Prime. It is an old mining station. If we fortify it, we can force the Devourers into a bottleneck." "The station has no military value," Krell said, "and we are outnumbered 20-1 in that sector." "Exactly. They will not expect us to fight there." Bo-Ra smiled. "Humans have a saying, the best defense is a good surprise." Against his better judgment, Krell agreed to run the scenario. The numbers were terrible. 97% casualty projection. Total annihilation in 4 hours. But Bo-Ra insisted. And somehow, Colonel Jin Woo supported her plan. 2 weeks later, Krell watched the Battle of Helios Prime unfold. He watched it from his command chamber, every sensor feeding data directly into his consciousness. He watched as Human Sergeant Hyun Woo led 800 soldiers onto a mining station that was barely functional. The Devourers came, 16,000 of them, a black tide of death. Krell began calculating evacuation routes. The battle was already lost. Then the humans did something unexpected. They did not just fortify the station, they transformed it. Engineer Da-Yun, a human female with remarkable technical knowledge, had spent the previous week studying the station's systems. She discovered the old fusion reactor could be modified, not for power, for something else. "All forces, fall back to secondary positions," Hyunwoo ordered, as the Devourers swarmed the outer sections. Krell watched the humans retreat. They were following standard tactics now. Finally, some logic. But they were not retreating. They were leading the Devourers deeper into the station, into specific sections Da'un had marked on her technical maps. "Now!" Da'un shouted. The fusion reactor pulsed. Not an explosion, an electromagnetic wave, massive, carefully directed and absolutely devastating to bioelectric systems. The Devourers relied on electrical nerve impulses to coordinate. As a hive species, they moved together through constant electrical signals between individuals. The EMP wave destroyed that coordination. 16,000 Devourers suddenly became 16,000 confused, disconnected organisms. They attacked each other. They ran in circles. They forgot they were supposed to be a unified force. "All forces, advance," Hyunwoo ordered. "Hit them while they are confused." The coalition soldiers, protected by specially shielded equipment Da'un had modified, pushed forward. It was not a battle. It was extermination. In 20 minutes, the Devourers were destroyed. Krell ran the numbers again and again. The probability of this outcome had been 0.03%, essentially impossible. But it had happened. After the battle, Krell requested a private meeting with Da'un and Hyunwoo. He needed to understand. "How did you know it would work?" Krell asked Da'un. The human engineer shrugged. "I did not know. I thought it might work. 50-50 chance, maybe. But the risk was enormous. If you were wrong, everyone would have died." "Yes," Da'un agreed. "But if I was right, we would win. So we tried." Krell's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. "You gambled 800 lives on a 50% chance?" Sergeant Hyunwoo stepped forward. "Strategist Krell, may I explain something about humans? We do not fight for good odds. We fight to make impossible things happen. When you told us we had a 3% chance of winning, we heard that there was still a chance. Not 0. 3. That is enough. But it is not logical. War is not always about logic," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Sometimes it is about courage. About trying when everyone says you will fail. My ancestors had a saying, 'The one who moves a mountain begins by carrying small stones.' We do not see the mountain. We only see the stone in front of us. And we lift it." Krell returned to his command chamber that night. But he could not stop thinking about what Hyunwoo had said. He began searching through old Coalition archives, deep archives, records that had not been accessed in thousands of years. He found something strange, references to the precursor gods, the ancient beings who had created most Coalition species. The gods had left many records, many warnings. Most were about maintaining order, following proper procedures, accepting natural limits. But one record was different. It was marked with a priority seal that Krell had never seen before, the highest warning level, a warning that had been buried and forgotten. Krell opened the file. The text was fragmented, translated through multiple dead languages. But the meaning was clear enough. Beware the persistent species. We sought them in the dark between stars. We found them on a world of endless struggle. We attempted to guide them, to give them order. They refused. They resisted every attempt to shape them. They did not accept their limitations. They did not acknowledge their proper place. This makes them dangerous. This makes them unbeatable. They do not know when they are defeated. Therefore, they cannot be defeated. Seal this record. If they ever reach the stars, they must be stopped before they inspire others. Krell read the record 3 times. His crystalline mind, built for logic and calculation, struggled to process the implications. The precursor gods had known about humans. 50,000 years ago, before humanity had fire, before they had language, the gods had found them. And the gods had been afraid, not of human strength, not of human technology. The gods feared human nature, the refusal to accept defeat, the tendency to try impossible things. Krell ran a new analysis. He took every battle the humans had fought in the last 3 months. He removed normal tactical calculations. Instead, he looked for a different pattern. A pattern based not on what was logical, but on what humans believed was possible. The pattern emerged clearly. Humans fought not to optimize outcomes. They fought to achieve impossible outcomes. They looked at every battle and asked one question: is there any way, no matter how unlikely, that we can win? If the answer was yes, they tried. And because they tried with complete commitment, because they never held back reserves or planned retreat routes, they won far more often than they should. It was not logical, but it was effective. Krell made a decision. He encrypted the precursor record and stored it in his personal memory. Then he sent a message to Coalition High Command. Request immediate meeting. Topic: revision of strategic doctrine based on human combat methodology. Recommend full integration of human tactical philosophy into coalition military planning. The response came within an hour. Meeting approved. Coalition leadership wanted to hear what Krell had learned. Before the meeting, Krell visited the human quarters. He found Lieutenant Bo-Ra reviewing tactical maps. "Lieutenant," Krell said, "I wanted to thank you. Your plan at Helios Prime was remarkable." Bo-Ra looked up and smiled. "It was not just my plan. Sergeant Hyun-woo led the soldiers. Engineer Da-Yun built the weapon. We all did it together. Yes, that is another thing I am learning from humans. You share credit. You fight as one unified force, not as individuals seeking glory." "That is the only way to win," Bo-Ra said. "No one person can move a mountain, but 1,000 people working together, we can reshape the world." Krell left the meeting thinking about mountains and stones, about impossible tasks and the species that attempted them anyway. For 600 years, he had believed war was about mathematics, about calculating the best possible outcome and accepting when victory was impossible. But humans had taught him something new, something the precursor gods had learned 50,000 years ago and tried to bury. Some species create reality through calculation. They accept the limits of what is possible. But humans created reality through will. They decided what they wanted to be possible, and then they made it happen. Krell finally understood why the ancient gods had been afraid, not of what humans were, but of what they could inspire others to become. The Coalition had fought the Devourers for 3 centuries, accepting slow defeat as logical and inevitable. Humans had arrived 3 months ago and refused to accept defeat at all, and somehow, impossibly, the tide was beginning to turn. Pilot Young Jae checked his fighter's systems for the 3rd time. Everything was green. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart was racing. Outside his cockpit, space burned with weapons fire. The largest Devourer fleet ever assembled was attacking Coalition Central Command, the heart of the Coalition government. If it fell, the war was over. "Angel Squadron status check," Young Jae said into his communicator. "Angel 2, ready," his wingmate Nari responded. "Though I would like to point out this is insane." "Angel 3 through 12, ready," the other pilots called in. All human, all volunteers, all flying fighters that were older and slower than Coalition standard models. But they were here. That was what mattered. "All fighters, protect the evacuation transports," the Coalition flight commander ordered. "We cannot win this battle. Our priority is getting civilians out." Young Jae watched the massive Devourer ships tear through Coalition defenses. 300 years of technology, the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. And it was being destroyed in hours. He thought about his family back on Earth, about the message he had sent them last week, about his little sister who wanted to be a pilot like him. He was not going to let the Devourers reach Earth, no matter what it took. "Angel 2, I am picking up something weird," Nari said suddenly. "There are transmissions coming from deep in Devourer space, coded signals, lots of them. Probably just communication between their ships." "No, it is different. Let me boost the signal. Nari worked her controls. Young Jay, these signals are not tactical communications. They are status reports. The Devourers are reporting to something. Coalition Intelligence Officer Thex broke into their channel. Angel Squadron, upload those signals to me immediately. Young Jay watched as Nari sent the data. Seconds passed. Then Thex's voice came back, and it was shaking. They have a central intelligence, a nexus. We always thought the Devourers were a mindless swarm, but they are being controlled. And the nexus is not here. It is sending orders from their home territory. Young Jay felt his pulse quicken. If we destroy the nexus, what happens to the Devourers? They would lose coordination, become confused, maybe even stop attacking entirely. Then we need to strike at the nexus, now, while their main fleet is here. Pilot Young Jay, that is suicide, Thex said. The nexus is 100 light-years deep into Devourer territory. You would never make it back. Young Jay looked at the evacuation ships. Thousands of civilians fleeing, families, children, his people and coalition citizens together, all running from death. Put me through to Admiral Dong Hyun, Young Jay said. 2 minutes later, he was speaking directly to the highest-ranking human officer in the sector. Young Jay explained what Nari had found. He explained his idea. It is a one-way mission, Dong Hyun said quietly. You understand that? Yes, sir. But if we do not try, this is the end, not just for the coalition. Eventually, the Devourers will reach human space. They will find Earth. I would rather die trying to stop them than watch them consume my home. Silence on the channel. Then Dong Hyun spoke again. How many ships do you need? As many as you can spare, sir. And I need demolitions expert Yunji. If we reach the Nexus, I want someone who knows how to blow it to hell. You will have your ships. And Yunji. Dong Hyun paused. Young Jai, humanity is proud of you. Come back if you can. I will try, sir. Trying is what we do best. Within an hour, a fleet assembled. 20 human ships. 5 coalition vessels whose captains volunteered. Not enough to fight an army, but enough to move fast and hit hard. Yunji arrived on Young Jay's carrier ship. She was small, quiet, and carried experimental quantum charges that could crack a planet. She had designed them herself. You know this is crazy, right? Yunji said as she secured her equipment. Completely crazy, Young Jay agreed. But the alternative is sitting here while everything dies. I would rather be crazy and fighting. The strike fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. They bypassed the main Devourer forces. The humans had one advantage. Their stealth technology was primitive compared to coalition systems. It worked on completely different principles, and the Devourers had never encountered it before. They did not look for human stealth signatures, so they did not see the human ships passing through their territory. The journey took 16 hours, 16 hours of silent running, barely breathing, praying they would not be detected. Nari stayed at sensors, watching for patrol ships. They found the Nexus in a dead star system, 3 massive biological structures orbiting a black hole. They pulsed with sickly green light. Devourer ships surrounded them by the thousands. Well, Young Jay said, at least we found it. There are too many defenders, one coalition captain said. We cannot reach the Nexus. We do not have to reach it from the outside, Yunji said. She was studying the structures. If I can get inside one of those buildings, I can plant charges. The explosion will trigger a chain reaction. How do you get inside? You crash a ship into it. Make a hole. I ride the ship in. Everyone stared at her. That is suicide, the coalition captain said. Yes, but it will work. Yunji looked at Young Jay. I need a pilot who can hit a specific target while enemy ships are shooting at them. Young Jay felt his heart sink. He knew what she was asking. I can do it. No, Nari said suddenly. I can do it. Young Jay. You are squadron commander. You need to lead the others. I can hit the target. Nari, you will die. Maybe, but everyone dies sometime. I choose to die meaning something. Nari smiled. Besides, you promised your sister you would come home. I made no such promise. The plan was simple. Most of the fleet would attack from one side, drawing the defenders away. Nari and Yunji would attack from the other side. One chance. One shot. Young Jay wanted to argue, wanted to find another way, but there was no time. The battle at Coalition Central Command was still raging. Every minute delayed meant more deaths. All ships, Young Jay ordered, begin attack run, for the Coalition, for humanity, for everyone who cannot fight but needs us to. The fleet attacked. Human and Coalition ships, working together, hit the Devourer defenders with everything they had. It was chaos, beautiful, terrible chaos. Young Jay flew through enemy fire, his fighter weaving between massive Devourer ships. He shot, he dodged, he watched friends die. But he did not stop. Clear shot, Nari shouted. I am going in. Young Jay forced himself to watch. Nari's ship accelerated, dodging fire from 3 directions. She was brilliant. She flew like she was dancing, like the fighter was part of her body. She hit the Nexus structure perfectly. Her ship tore through the biological walls and disappeared inside. Charges planted, Yunji reported, her voice calm. 30 seconds to detonation. All ships get clear. Nari, get out of there, Young Jay shouted, static, then Nari's voice weak. Ship is damaged. Engines are dead. I am not getting out. Young Jay. No, I am coming for you. Stay back. That is an order. Nari laughed weakly. Tell my family I loved them. Tell them I flew well. Nari, please. It was an honor flying with you. Now get out of here and live. Make this mean something. The charges detonated. The Nexus structure exploded from within. Green light became white, became fire. The explosion tore through all 3 structures. They collapsed into the black hole, and the gravitational forces ripped them apart. And the Devourer ships stopped moving. All of them. Thousands of ships, frozen in space. Their central intelligence was gone. Without it, they were just empty shells. Fall back, Young Jay ordered through tears. Mission accomplished. Get to the jump point. The fleet escaped. 16 ships out of 25 made it home. Young Jay's fighter limped back to Coalition space 3 days later. When he arrived, the fighting had stopped. The Devourers attacking Central Command had shut down the moment the Nexus died. Coalition forces were securing the lifeless ships. Young Jay requested permission to land. He was directed to a secure bay. When he climbed out of his fighter, Admiral Dong Hyun was waiting. So was strategist Krell and Commander Velthar. Pilot Young Jay, Dong Hyun said formally, your mission was successful. The Devourer threat has been neutralized. Casualties were heavy, but you saved billions of lives. Young Jay nodded numbly. He could not celebrate. Nari was dead. Yunji was dead. So many others. There is something else, Krell said. His crystalline form pulsed with an odd light. When we examined the remains of the Nexus, we found data, records. Pilot Young Jay, the Devourers were not a natural species. They were created, engineered, by the precursor gods. Young Jay looked up sharply. What? Velthar stepped forward. The records show everything. 50,000 years ago, the precursor gods ruled the galaxy. They created most coalition species to serve them. But they found humanity on Earth, and they tried to control you. But humans refused. You resisted every attempt to change you. So they left, Krell continued. But before they left, they created the Devourers. A weapon. A test. If humanity ever reached the stars, the Devourers would destroy you. And if humanity was destroyed, the Coalition would never learn what you could teach them. Young Jay felt cold. They created a monster that killed trillions. Just to destroy us? Not just to destroy you, Velthar said quietly. To destroy the hope you represent. The gods feared you because you showed that mortals do not need gods, that we can be great without them. The Devourers were supposed to avoid human worlds at first, Krell added. They were programmed to destroy the Coalition first, then turn on humanity when you were isolated. But when you joined the war, when you fought beside us, the Devourers' programming became confused. They tried to avoid you while attacking us. That is why they seemed cautious around human positions. Young Jay sat down heavily. Nari had died fighting a monster that gods created out of fear. Yunji had sacrificed herself to stop a weapon aimed at all of them. What now? Young Jay asked. Admiral Dong Hyun looked at the others. Now we have a choice. The gods created the Devourers to test us. We passed the test. We survived. But Krell has found something else in the precursor records. The gods did not just leave. They sealed away something. Human potential, abilities they feared. And that seal is breaking. Breaking how? Being near Coalition technology is changing humans, awakening something. We do not know what yet. But the gods left one final message. If their weapons fail to stop humanity, they will return, and they will finish what they started. Young Jay thought about Nari, about her courage, about her sacrifice. Let them come, Young Jay said quietly. We beat their monsters. We can face the monsters' creators. Velthar placed one of his 4 arms on Young Jay's shoulder. You will not face them alone. Whatever comes next, humanity and the Coalition stand together. We are not just allies now. We are family. Family does not abandon each other. Young Jay looked at the Coalition soldiers around him. Different species, different worlds, but all bound by shared sacrifice. The gods had feared humanity would inspire others, would show them they could be more than they were designed to be. The gods had been right to fear, because now it was too late to stop it. Sol existed as pure energy, her consciousness flowing through electromagnetic fields. As a xenotheologian, she had spent 4 centuries studying the precursor gods. She had explored their abandoned temples, translated their forgotten texts, and tried to understand beings who had shaped the galaxy. Now she stood in one of those temples with human archaeologist Jae Sung, and everything she thought she knew was wrong. Look at this inscription, Jae Sung said, pointing his light at symbols carved into ancient stone. It is not a prayer, it is a warning. Sol focused her energy form, reading the text. Her translation algorithms worked quickly. The words made her consciousness flicker with something close to fear. These subjects show unsatisfactory obedience patterns. Project 15 requires termination. All manufactured species respond well to divine authority. The natural species does not. They question. They resist. They cannot be controlled. Recommendation: complete elimination before they contaminate other projects. Project 15, Jae Sung said quietly. That is humanity. The gods tried to kill us before we even had language. Since destroying the Devourer Nexus 3 months ago, the Coalition had been investigating precursor sites across the galaxy. Sites that had been forbidden for thousands of years. Now, with the truth about the Devourers revealed, those restrictions seemed less like protection and more like cover-up. Jae Sung was the lead human archaeologist. Sol had volunteered to work with him. She needed to understand what her gods had really been. They were not gods at all. They were tyrants. Every site they visited told the same story. The precursor gods had not created most Coalition species out of love. They had manufactured them, designed them to be obedient, dependent, perfect servants. Each species was built with specific limits, specific purposes. Here, Jae-sung called from another chamber. "I found the creation records for the Velthar species." Irinzol joined him. The records were detailed, clinical. The Velthar had been designed for manual labor and basic military service. Their forearms were not natural evolution. They were engineered. Their strong bodies came with limited creativity. By design. "Every coalition species has records like this," Jae-sung said. "The gods made them all, except humans. We have no creation record." "Because you evolved naturally," Irinzol said. "On Earth, a world the gods found but could not control." They moved deeper into the temple. The architecture was beautiful but cold. Perfect geometric patterns. No warmth, no life. Just order and control. In the central chamber, they found what they were looking for. The Great Archive. A quantum computer that stored all precursor knowledge. Jae-sung activated it. Holographic displays filled the air. Millions of files. Billions of records. "Search for human containment protocol," Irinzol suggested. The computer found it immediately. The file opened, and they began to read. 50,000 years ago, the precursor gods had discovered Earth. They found early humans living in caves, barely surviving. The gods tried to uplift them, to engineer them like they had done with other species. But human genetics resisted every attempt. Human minds rejected divine conditioning. No matter what the gods tried, humans remained unpredictable, rebellious, creative. The gods tried for 10,000 years. Then they gave up. But they did not just leave. They were afraid of what humans might become. So they placed a lock on human potential, a quantum seal embedded in human DNA itself. "What kind of potential?" Jae-sung asked, reading the technical details. "Psionic abilities," Irinzol translated. "Reality manipulation, direct interface with universal consciousness. The gods feared humans could become like them, could challenge divine rule, so they locked those abilities away." The file contained detailed schematics of the lock. It was brilliant and terrible. A prison built into human biology itself. As long as the lock held, humans would never access their full potential. But there was a note at the end of the file, added much later. "Warning, lock stability decreasing. Exposure to advanced electromagnetic technology accelerates degradation. If humans achieve space travel and interact with engineered species, lock will fail within 3 to 5 generations. If lock fails, humans will awaken. If humans awaken, they will remember. If they remember, they will rebel. If they rebel, they will win. Recommendation: activation of terminal protocol." "Terminal protocol," Jae-sung said. "That is the Devourers. The gods knew their lock would break eventually, so they created a backup plan, a weapon to kill us if we ever reach the stars." Irinzol felt her energy form pulse with anger. "My gods were monsters." "They were afraid," Jae-sung said. "Fear makes people do terrible things." They spent the next week in the temple, downloading everything. The full history of precursor tyranny, the proof that coalition species were not natural but manufactured slaves, and the evidence that the lock on human potential was indeed breaking. When they returned to coalition space, a meeting was called. All major leaders attended. Commander Velthar, strategist Krell, Admiral Dong-hyun, and several humans who had begun showing unusual abilities. Yujin stood before the assembly. She looked normal, young, barely 20 years old. But she was not normal anymore. "I can feel them," Yujin said. "The Devourers. Even though they are shut down, I can sense where every single ship is, across the entire galaxy. I know their locations like I know my own hands." Beside her, Sung-min shifted uncomfortably. "I was in a hull breach last month, exposed to vacuum for 3 minutes. I should have died, but I did not. I just held on, like my body refused to accept that vacuum should kill me." "And I can talk to machines," Hyorin added. She was a technician. Not through computers. I just think at them, and they respond. Coalition AI systems treat me like I am one of them. Jae-sung stepped forward, presenting their findings. The precursor gods locked human potential 50,000 years ago, but that lock is breaking. Being near coalition technology, especially AI systems and quantum computers, is accelerating the process. These three are just the first. Within a generation, all humans will awaken to these abilities. What abilities exactly? Admiral Dong-hyun asked. We do not know the full extent, Irin-Sol admitted. The precursor records are incomplete. They were too afraid to study human potential completely. But based on what we found, humans could potentially manipulate reality at a quantum level, could interface with technology directly, could sense things across vast distances, could survive conditions that would kill any other species. In short, Krell said, his crystalline form pulsing, humans could become like gods. Silence filled the chamber. Velthar stood. The question is, what do we do about this? The precursor gods feared human potential. Should we fear it too? They created us to be slaves, someone shouted. It was a young Velthar soldier. They limited us, made us weak, made us dependent, and now humans are breaking free of those same chains. I say we help them. Maybe they can help us break free too. Arguments erupted. Some coalition members were afraid. What if humans became tyrannical like the precursors? What if power corrupted them? But others argued differently. Humans had fought beside them, died beside them, showed them what it meant to never give up, to never accept defeat. Young Jae stood. He had been quiet until now, still grieving Nari. May I speak? The chamber quieted. I understand your fear, Young Jae said. Power is dangerous. The precursors proved that. But I promise you this. Humanity does not want to rule you. We want to stand with you, as equals, as friends. Whatever abilities we develop, we will use them to protect, not dominate. How can you promise that? Someone asked. Because that is who we are, Young Jae said simply. The precursors tried to change us for 10,000 years. We resisted. Not because we wanted to be rebellious, but because we believe in freedom, in choice, in standing together. Those values are not locked in our DNA. They are not sealed away. They are who we have always been. And power will not change that. Strategist Krell floated forward. I believe him. I have fought beside humans. I have watched them sacrifice everything for strangers. They could have left us to die many times. They never did. That is not something that changes with power. That is character. Velthar nodded. I agree. The question is not whether humans should be allowed to awaken. The lock is breaking whether we like it or not. The question is whether we help them through it, whether we stand together. The vote was close, but it passed. The coalition would help humanity awaken to their full potential. The celebration was short-lived. 3 days later, every sensor station in the galaxy detected the same thing. A signal from beyond the galactic rim, from the dark space between galaxies where nothing should exist. Irin-Sol analyzed it. Her energy form flickered with terror. It is them, she said. The precursor gods. They are coming back. The message was simple. Broadcast across all frequencies in every language. Project 15 containment failure detected. Terminal protocol has failed. Divine intervention required. We are returning. Prepare for judgment. The natural species will be eliminated. Order will be restored. Obedience will be absolute. This is the will of creation. This is not negotiable. Admiral Dong-hyun read the message 3 times. Then he looked at the assembled leaders. How long until they arrive? 6 months, Krell calculated. Maybe less if they use technology we do not understand. Then we have 6 months to prepare, Dong-hyun said. 6 months to learn what humans can really do. 6 months to ready the coalition for war. War against gods? someone asked. How do we fight gods? Yujin stepped forward. She closed her eyes and everyone in the room felt it. A pressure, a weight, like reality itself was bending around her. They are not gods, Yujin said quietly. They are just old, powerful beings who call themselves gods. And they are afraid of us. They have always been afraid. That means they can be beaten. How? Velthar asked. Yujin opened her eyes. They glowed with faint light. Because gods derive power from worship, from believers who bow down, but humans never worship them. We believed in ourselves, in each other, and now you believe in yourselves too. That is what they really fear. Not our abilities, our belief that we do not need them. Jae-sung pulled up a star map. The gods are coming from between galaxies. They will enter at the edge of our space. If we meet them there, we can choose the battlefield. The threshold, Irinzol said. That is what we call it. The space between realities, where physics becomes uncertain, where gods exist. Then that is where we fight them, Youngjae said, on our terms, in a place where determination matters more than power. Plans began forming. The coalition fleet would prepare. Human awakened abilities would be trained. Every resource would be mobilized. But everyone knew the truth. They were preparing to fight beings who had created stars and shaped galaxies. It should have been impossible. But humanity specialized in impossible things. And now, for the first time in 50,000 years, they would not face the gods alone. The coalition stood with them, not as servants, not as subjects, as family. And family does not abandon each other, not when monsters come, not when gods return, not ever. Commander Velthar stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship and watched the gods arrive. They came from the dark between galaxies, ships that were not ships, structures that bent light and twisted space. They were beautiful and terrible. They looked like temples and weapons at the same time. Enemy fleet size is undefined, the sensor officer reported. Her voice shook. They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. I cannot get an accurate count. Velthar looked at Admiral Dong-hyun. The human stood calmly, hands behind his back. He showed no fear. How many ships do we have? Dong-hyun asked. 15,000 coalition vessels, 3,000 human ships, all volunteers. 18,000 ships against beings who had created stars. The mathematics were not in their favor, but as humans had taught them, mathematics was not everything. All ships, battle formation, Velthar ordered. Hold the line. Protect the threshold breach point. Do not let them through. The gods sent a transmission. It appeared on every screen, in every language. A being of pure light spoke. Its voice was beautiful and cold. Project 15 specimens. You were scheduled for termination 50,000 years ago. You resisted. You contaminated our other projects. You have inspired rebellion. This ends now. Surrender, and your death will be quick. Admiral Dong-hyun opened a channel. This is Admiral Dong-hyun of the Human Expeditionary Fleet, speaking for all coalition forces. We refuse. Refusal is not acceptable. You are creations. We are creators. Obedience is your purpose. No, Dong-hyun said simply. Freedom is our purpose, and we will fight for it. All of us, together. The gods attacked. Space itself tore apart. Coalition ships were erased from existence. Entire squadrons vanished as reality was rewritten around them. The gods did not just have weapons. They were weapons. They changed the rules of physics to suit them. All human awakened! Activate! Dong-hyun ordered. Across the fleet, humans who had unlocked their abilities acted. Yujin closed her eyes and felt every enemy position. She broadcast their locations to every coalition ship. Perfect tactical awareness. Sung-min stood in the damaged sections of his ship, exposed to vacuum. He held the hull breaches closed with his bare hands while repair crews worked. His body refused to accept that space should kill him. Hyorin interfaced with every AI system in the fleet. She became the network itself, coordinating 18,000 ships like they were one organism. "They are adapting," strategist Krell warned. "The gods are learning our tactics in real time." "Then we change tactics faster than they can adapt," Velthar said. He had learned this from humans. Never fight the same way twice. Coalition ships used weapons the gods had never seen. Human creativity combined with coalition technology. They deployed mines that existed in quantum superposition, missiles that traveled through multiple dimensions, shields that used biological and mechanical systems together. The gods were powerful, but they were also old. They thought in patterns established billions of years ago. They expected their subjects to fight with order and logic. But the coalition fleet fought with chaos and innovation. Every ship captain made their own decisions. Every soldier improvised. It was messy, it was inefficient, it was impossible to predict, and it worked. "Breakthrough on the western flank," Young Jay reported. He was leading fighter squadrons deep into enemy formations. "The gods are forming a dimensional gate. They are trying to bypass our defenses and strike directly at Earth." "Stop them," Dong-hyun ordered. Young Jay's fighter wing accelerated. They were outnumbered 100 to 1. But they did not retreat. "For Nari!" Young Jay shouted. "For everyone who fell! Show these gods what humans can do!" His fighters tore through the enemy formation. They were faster, more maneuverable. The gods' ships were powerful, but slow. Young Jay remembered his training. The enemy expects you to run, so attack instead. He destroyed the dimensional gate generators with precise shots. The gate collapsed. Earth was safe, but the battle was far from over. "We are losing too many ships," Krell calculated. "At this rate, we will be overwhelmed in 4 hours." Velthar watched another squadron vanish. Good soldiers, good friends, all gone. He thought about what he had learned from humans. Sometimes you cannot win the battle you are fighting, so you change the battle. "All forces begin tactical withdrawal," Velthar ordered. "Fall back to the threshold. Make them follow us." The gods pursued. They thought the coalition was retreating in defeat. They did not understand it was strategy. The threshold was the space between realities, where the physical universe ended and something else began. It was where the gods existed when they were not in normal space. "Human awakened team, prepare for dimensional shift," Dong-hyun ordered. In a specially shielded ship, Kwan-ho stood with 20 other humans who had fully unlocked their abilities. They had spent 6 months training, learning what they could do, learning what humans had always been capable of. Jae-sung and engineer Da-yun had built a bridge, a device that would let them enter the threshold, where physics was uncertain, where reality was fluid, where gods were powerful, but humans could anchor themselves through pure will. "Bridge activating," Da-yun announced. "This is going to feel strange." That was an understatement. Kwan-ho felt reality shift around him. He was no longer in normal space. He existed in multiple dimensions at once. His body was solid and fluid. His mind touched infinity, and he saw the gods as they truly were. They were not beings of light. They were parasites. They fed on worship, on belief, on the energy of those who considered them divine. Without that energy, they were weak, mortal, afraid. "Spread out," Kwan-ho ordered the awakened humans. "Let them see us. Let them remember what they feared." The gods noticed them. The chief god, the one who had spoken before, manifested fully. "You dare enter our realm," it said. "Here, we are absolute. Your physical weapons are useless. Your technology means nothing." "Good thing we brought something else," Kwan-ho said. "We brought ourselves." He reached out with his mind. He touched the fabric of reality, and he refused to let the gods change it. When a god tried to erase a coalition ship, Quan Ho held reality steady. The ship survived. When a god tried to rewrite physics, human awakened ones reinforced the rules. Physics stayed consistent. "This is impossible," the chief god said. "You are mortal. You cannot resist divine will." "We have been resisting your will for 50,000 years," Quan Ho said. "We are very good at it by now." The battle became metaphysical. Gods wielding cosmic power versus humans who simply refused to yield. Every attack the gods made, humans countered not with power, but with determination. Back in normal space, the coalition fleet pressed the advantage. With the gods distracted, their ships became vulnerable. Young Jay led fighter wings through enemy formations. Velthar commanded the capital ships in devastating coordinated strikes. Hyo-Rin linked every weapon system across 18,000 ships, creating a single unified attack pattern. But it was not enough. The gods were still too powerful, too ancient. They had billions of years of accumulated power. Then Medic Hye-Wan did something no one expected. She was treating wounded coalition soldiers when she felt it. The fabric of reality was tearing. The gods were inflicting wounds on existence itself. Ships were not just being destroyed. They were being erased, removed from time. Hye-Wan had spent years healing bodies. Now she reached out and healed reality. She did not know how she knew what to do. It was instinct, human instinct. She found the tears in space-time and she closed them. She felt the wounds the gods inflicted on the universe, and she made them whole again. "Impossible," the chief god said again. "You are changing our changes. Reality manipulation should be ours alone." "Maybe it should be everyone's," Hye-Wan said. "Maybe no one should have that kind of power over others." In the threshold, Quan Ho faced the chief god directly. Around them, the battle raged. Human awakened ones and coalition ships working together, fighting not to destroy the gods, but to stop them, to make them understand they could not rule anymore. "Why do you resist?" the chief god demanded. "We created order from chaos. We built civilizations. We are gods." "No," Quan Ho said. "You are tyrants. You created slaves and called it civilization. You demanded worship and called it love. You controlled everything and called it peace. But that is not how life should be." "Then how should it be?" "Free, messy, unpredictable, beautiful." Quan Ho gestured at the coalition fleet. "Look at them. Dozens of species, all different, all working together. Not because you commanded them. Because they chose to. That is what you never understood. Choice is more powerful than control." The chief god attacked with everything it had, pure divine energy meant to unmake Quan Ho from existence. But Quan Ho did not fight alone. Every human who had awakened added their will to his, and more. Every coalition soldier who believed in freedom added their determination. Every species that had chosen to stand against their creators added their strength. It was not about power. It was about belief. Belief in a reality where gods did not rule, where mortals made their own destiny. The collective will became a force stronger than divine authority. It was hope made manifest, determination given form. The chief god's attack failed, not because it was stopped, because reality itself rejected it. The universe chose free will over divine control. "This is impossible," the chief god said, but its voice was weak now. "You keep saying that word," Quan Ho said. "I do not think it means what you think it means. To you, impossible means forbidden. To us, it means not yet achieved." The gods tried one final assault. All of them together. Every ounce of power accumulated over billions of years. They tried to erase Earth itself, to remove humanity's home world from history, but Admiral Dong-hyun was ready. He had positioned the entire fleet around Earth's solar system. 18,000 ships formed a shield of determination and steel. "Fire everything!" Dong-hyun ordered. But it was not the weapons that mattered. It was the will behind them. Every shot carried the determination of soldiers who refused to let their homes burn. Every shield held firm through sheer stubbornness, and in the threshold, every awakened human anchored Earth in reality. They held their home world in place through pure belief. You cannot erase what people refuse to forget. The divine assault broke against human will, against coalition unity, against the simple, stubborn refusal to give up. The gods stopped. For the first time in billions of years, they stopped. "You have won," the chief god said quietly. "We cannot defeat what you have become." "Then leave," Velthar said. He had entered the threshold with Quan Ho. "Leave and never return. This universe belongs to those who live in it now, not to those who claim to have created it. And if we refuse, if we stay and fight, we are still powerful. We could destroy you all eventually." "You could," Admiral Dong Hyun agreed. He stood beside Velthar. "But you would never have peace. We would fight you forever. Every generation, every day. We would never stop, never surrender, never bow down. Is that how you want to spend eternity? In endless war with mortals who refuse to accept your rule?" The gods were silent. They had faced many enemies over billions of years. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed civilizations, reshaped reality itself. But they had never faced anything like humans, and they had never faced the coalition inspired by human determination. "Very well," the chief god said finally. "We created heaven and earth. You created something we never could. Hope without us. The universe is yours now." The chief god paused. Its voice held something strange, not quite respect, but close. "We fear what you will make of it." The gods withdrew. They did not surrender, they simply left. Back to the dark between galaxies, back to the void. They left one final message, not a threat, a warning. "Without us, you have no one to blame for your failures. No gods to pray to when things go wrong. You are truly free now, free to succeed, free to fail, free to become either better than us or worse. The responsibility is yours." Then they were gone. The fleet held position for hours, waiting for a trick. But the gods did not return. Slowly, celebrations began. People cried. People laughed. People held each other. Across 18,000 ships, soldiers who had expected to die realized they would live. 5 years later, Velthar stood on a coalition world and watched children play, human children and coalition children together. They ran and laughed and invented games that made no sense to adults. Young Jay stood beside him. The pilot had retired from military service. He taught now, trained new pilots. "Do you ever wonder if the gods were right to fear us?" Velthar asked. "Every day," young Jay admitted. "Power is dangerous, freedom is dangerous, but you know what is more dangerous, having no choice at all, being slaves to beings who claim to know better. What will we do with our freedom? Make mistakes, probably, big ones." Young Jay smiled. "But they will be our mistakes, and we will learn from them, together." Quan Ho joined them. He was teaching others to use their awakened abilities, not to dominate, to help, to protect. "The gods left us a question," Quan Ho said. "What will we make of the universe without them?" "I think I know the answer." "What is it?" Velthar asked. "We will make it better. Not perfect, but better. Because that is what mortals do. We try. We fail. We try again. We do not need to be gods to be great. We just need to be ourselves." In the sky above, new stars were being born. The age of gods was over. The age of mortals, working together, had begun. And somewhere in the dark between galaxies, the precursor gods watched. They watched, and they waited. Because they had learned something too. Fear creates resistance. Control creates rebellion, but freedom creates something they had never imagined. It creates hope. And hope, they had learned too late, is the most powerful force in the universe.